So why are the first 2 weeks of breastfeeding so important? It's because breastfeeding is not only physical, it's hormonal. So prolactin is a hormone that tells the brain how much milk for the body to make. And guess what? You only get prolactin when the baby's on the breast, not with the breast pump. So the first 2 weeks you're establishing, they're called prolactin receptor sites in your breast. So you're building your milk supply. There's ways to boost prolactin in the future, but if I have a patient, the first question I'm going to ask them is, was the baby on the breast the first 2 weeks? Because if receptor sites aren't built, they die. You can boost prolactin, but if the baby wasn't on the breast the first 2 weeks of life, the chances of having success boosting the milk supply goes down. So that's why the first 2 weeks is so important. Also, your baby is going to be born at a certain weight and there's going to be a lot of weighing. So my baby was 6 pounds, 13 ounces. Guess what? They're going to lose weight and then regain their birth weight. This all happens in the first 2 weeks. You would think if a baby is starving that they'd cry and scream and yell, and it's the complete opposite. Babies that are underfed get really sleepy. They're actually really good babies. They sleep so good. So that's an actual terrifying statement when you hear, oh, my baby's sleeping so well. Ding, ding, ding. That's a red flag that your baby's not getting enough food. So when you go to the hospital and your baby's first born, they're going to take the birth weight, super important, and then they're looking for weight loss. 10% weight loss is an indication for an intervention. So if your baby loses 10% of their birth weight, you're going to have to intervene and possibly do some supplementation. So how do you know that? You are going to go to the pediatrician. So once you are discharged from the hospital, you should see your pediatrician within 48 hours after you're discharged, and then around 1 week, and then at 2 week mark. The 2 week mark is when you get the thumbs up, and we can kind of build a schedule and make your life more tolerable. Just think of it like a honeymoon, but it's a baby moon. We get married, we want to spend so much time just with our partner, but when we have a baby, we don't think about that. We think about all the people that want to come over and see the baby. So the first 2 weeks, this is the time for you to really bond with your baby, establish your milk supply, build those prolactin receptor sites, and then if you do have challenges in the future, we can get to them. Another thing that happens the first 2 weeks is jaundice. Jaundice is red blood cells, excess red blood cells. So babies are born with their red blood cells and yours. So they have to get rid of those extra red blood cells. And how do they do that? They do that by pooping. And how do they poop? By getting food. So I'm just going to run through exactly what's going to happen the first 2 weeks, kind of broken into 3 different parts. So every mammal on the planet, it doesn't matter if it's an elephant or a dolphin, they all go through the same exact lactation stages that you're about to. It's lactogenesis stage 1. So about 10 weeks pregnancy, your breasts get a little bit bigger. You're making about a teaspoon of breast milk in each breast. They call this milk colostrum. It's a super highly concentrated milk. It's kind of orange in color because it's filled with beta carotene and antioxidants and antibodies. A concentrated super milk. It's still breast milk, but it's not a lot of volume. So baby's born, gonna breastfeed and get just a little bit. That is when they lose weight. They're gonna poop because babies are born full, but after those first few poops, they're gonna look like black tar. Then it turns into what goes in comes out. So day 0 to day 3 is the most important for weight loss. So in terms of breastfeeding, if you want to say, Jen, give me a schedule, exactly what it's going to be, day 0 to day 3, you're going to do this. You're going to feed 8 times every 24 hours. That is every 3 hours. The first 2 weeks, a lot of people ask, do I wake my baby to feed? And the answer is yes, just for the first 2 weeks, just while they're losing weight. So every 3 hours, you're going to feed 15 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you're done. And then you're gonna do that again every 3 hours. Around day 3, I call it the Dolly Parton phase, you're gonna go from making 1 teaspoon of breast milk in each breast to making about 32 ounces of milk every 24 hours. Overnight, your milk's gonna increase in volume. Once that happens, it's not time, it's dinner and dessert. So sometimes I want dessert, sometimes I don't. You only really need 1 breast to breastfeed. So the trick is just start on the breast you left off on. So I have this little hair tie here. That's a great way to remember which breast to start on. So you will start, let the baby eat as long as they're actively feeding, and we're gonna talk about that. And then you're gonna put the baby on the other side, but the baby's not gonna be on the other side as long. And then you start on the breast that you left off on. At the 2-week pediatrician visit, that is when you're gonna go and see if your baby has regained their birth weight. Once a baby has regained their birth weight, they will have the strength and energy to tell you when they're hungry, and you're not gonna have to set an alarm and wake them every 3 hours to feed. The general rule is to breastfeed 8 times every 24 hours. The first 2 weeks, that's every 3 hours on the dot. And you're gonna have to wake up every 3 hours. But you know what? This is breastfeeding or formula feeding. Babies' stomachs are very small. Once you reach the 14-day mark and the pediatrician visit, and the pediatrician says the baby has regained their birth weight, then I just need you to feed 8 times every 24 hours. You can make the schedule however you want it. For example, if you fed every 2.5 hours during the day, then you can allow your baby to do 1 5-hour stretch at night and still fit in those 8 feeds.